My name is Jeff. Today I'm going to cover how to externally mount a Raspberry Pi and ADS-B antenna for ADS-B reception for feeding FlightRadar 24 as well as FlightAware. In a previous video, I covered how to build a feeder system to feed FlightRadar 24 and FlightAware both from the same Raspberry Pi. If you haven't, make sure you check that video out as it goes right hand in hand with this video. My goal is to mount the Raspberry Pi externally up on the roof. I'd ordered this box when I started this project and it took over a month to get it. The Raspberry Pi will live in this box, which has got vents in it, and it's already got grommet holes on the bottom. And to me, it's the perfect size for what I need to get the Pi in there, along with the receiver dongle with a little bit of cable management going on inside. And then I am powering the Pi via a PoE HAT. You will see that in a short while here. And all that generates heat. And so I wanted to make sure that that heat had a way to get out. So this was one of the only boxes I found that came pre-configured with the vents on the side. I'm going to include a link in the description to this box. Please note that it is an affiliate link. And if you use that link, it really does help me out, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. So before we get started on this build, we are going to take a look at how our data collection has been currently for about the past month. We're going to look at how far our reception has been out, kind of our max range of reception with that antenna sitting in the window as it currently is. And then at the end of the video, make sure you stick around. We're going to really see how much better that reception gets by mounting this antenna up on the roof. And I'm expecting some great results, I believe. So let's go ahead and hop onto the computer first. We'll take a look at what things look like at the moment, and then we'll move on to starting the build. So here we are taking a look at what the flight feeder is currently receiving at my location. This is only viewing the aircraft that is being picked up by my feeder. So I'm going to zoom out here and give you an idea of what our range is. And I'm also going to come up here and turn on our site position range rings. And we can see that the ring count is 3, the base distance is 100, and the distance interval is 50. So let's continue to zoom out, and you can kind of get an idea. I mean, really, we should be receiving aircraft all the way out in a great world, even past this outside ring. It's very flat in this area. This is the Midwest, so there's no reason why we can't get a really far throw in terms of reception, that we can't get a very long range reception here. I'm going to take you over now and show you what it really looks like aircraft wise. You can see how we're missing a lot of this stuff over here. Let's just flip back. So this is what the FlightAware is feeding everybody. This is the public view of what everyone can see, not just what my receiver is feeding, but what everyone is contributing to the entire network. So let's pop back over here. You can see we're missing, there's stuff up here near Rockford that is not there. Let's go back over here. There's some stuff near Rockford out here that's missing. We've got a lot of stuff down here missing. Obviously, my window that the antenna is facing to the west. Now let's go over and look at our statistics. Here I want to come down here, and we can look and see the number of aircraft received per day. And I will say on the 11th, I did have a small bit of downtime. I was just working on something and had a little tiny bit of downtime there. But my averages per day are pretty consistent. I wasn't down at all on the 10th. You can see I'm kind of right in the ballpark every day, receiving about average the same amount of aircraft, give or take, for the ADS-B mode S. And then down here, we can see the number of aircraft received. Now, I want to scroll up and point this out. Let's see here. Oh, I apologize. Let me expand this. This here is our coverage graph over the last 24 hours. And you can really get an idea of we're not getting too far out there. There's your 9 positions at the 150 to 200 miles. So for whatever reason, the way the antenna is currently positioned, this kind of south-southwest is really where it's getting the best range off of it. Obviously here we're getting some more intensity. O'Hare is kind of up over in this direction. Midway is kind of down over this way. I assume that what we're seeing is kind of aircraft possibly here kind of lined up coming in or going out of Midway. And then, over here, we're only getting about a 100-mile range off to the east. So you can see here the positions reported. This, again, is in the last 24 hours. I expect this to go up a lot, and I expect to see this waterfall expand way out to even the 250 mile plus range. If everything goes according to plan, that's my hope. I don't know because I haven't done this before. This is my first try. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to see how things really look. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and hop in and start mounting the Pi into our weatherproof box. So let's go ahead and start that right now. Okay, so here's the Raspberry Pi mounted onto the board you can see here. Now, I mounted that onto the board with this kit right here. This is just a little standoff kit. I will include a link for this in the description below, affiliate link. Now, I have noticed that the area where the cables come in, these cable glands here, are raised up pretty high. So if I bring a cable in, it would take some distance for a thick cable to be able to drop down for me to attach it onto the board like I was planning. And let me grab my little setup here. Here's the dongle attached to the RF cable. This is a quite thick cable. It does not bend super easily. So once I put this in this cable gland, which I confirmed it does fit, I will need to wrap this USB around like so, and then go into the Pi like that. So unfortunately, I'm not really going to have much of the way of anything holding this in other than the cable gland itself. Luckily, it's quite a tight fit, and we've got this heat shrink on here that even if something was to happen to the gland here, with this door shut, I don't believe this would be able to pull out. I may throw a couple zip ties around the just this part of the cable here, just in case something did happen to this gland and anything pulled on that cable, it wouldn't pull any of the hardware on the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted up in here, and then we're gonna go ahead and head outside and start building our mount for mounting this thing kind of on the roof in with my weather station. So let's go ahead and head there next. Okay, so I have here the Unistrut that I'm gonna be using to cut into, I think we're gonna go about 4-foot pieces. So about 2 feet from each side from the center is where I will have the ability to put another antenna. Currently, if you look right up there, you can see that I have my weather station, and that is what we're gonna try to mount this onto if everything goes according to plan. We'll see how it goes. I have a metal blade on this saw. I'm gonna use that to cut this into sections, as I said, 2 4-foot sections, and that'll leave me a small leftover piece. This is about I believe it's a 10-foot stick. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so I got the Unistrut cut and down to 2 identical pieces. So this is coming together quite well. The next thing I'm going to do is cut some PVC, and that's what I'm currently using. Technically, I guess it's electrical conduit. That's what I'm currently using up there for the weather station. And I'm using it for an antenna on the other side of that same part of the roof, and it worked really well. So I'm going to just cut 2 3-foot pieces. I think that that's going to be a good height for what I'm trying to achieve here. And then we'll get to assembling this. And there we go. We have our last 2 pieces cut. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, right here I have my, what I call Unistrut, and I have this 1-inch piece of Schedule 40 PVC. My theory here is that with the piece that's already up there, this will bolt into the middle. These 2 on the outsides will then be bolted and kind of free floating like that. I have these 1-inch pipe clamps that I'm going to use to go ahead and bolt these on here. I got all these parts from Home Depot. I will try to include links in the description where I can. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, so that's pretty much the idea of what we're going with here. I got this spacing from the box. This is kind of how far apart it needs to be for the box to fit on here, in my opinion, the right way. So I think that this will be fine. I think that this will be just fine being held up there like that. This doesn't weigh hardly anything, so obviously weight is a factor here. This is going to be out in the wind, but I think that this is going to be a success, to be honest with you. Charlie. All right, Charlie's going to help us out with this portion of the video. So here's the completed mount. These two sides, this will allow me to put the ADS-B antenna up on one side, and I'll have room for expansion on the other side. In the middle will be the weather station current pole, which will mount just like this is mounting. That's how this will attach up top. And then our box here will attach right to the outside, just like so, with some nuts and bolts through right there. So we're gonna go ahead and hop up on the roof and see if we can get this attached. All right, here we are up on the roof. Here's the current setup. I'll have a link in the description to this mount that I'm using right here, affiliate link. That's a great little mount. It's actually made for TV masts, which is why I feel like this will not be too much weight for that to bear. I mean, TV masts have you know, longer pole with quite a bit more weight at the top. Most of the weight on this is going to be toward the bottom, so I'm not really concerned about weight. I am going to have to, however, climb up onto the upper part of the roof, which I will do in a moment to mount the mast. I'm realizing that the ladder is just too far against the house in order to mount it from below. So I'm going to go around, go up top on the top part of the roof there, and get it mounted there. While we're up here, look who decided to join us. Not bad. I've got it part way mounted. I'm gonna go ahead and keep moving forward on this, finish this up. Okay, there we are, all attached. It actually worked out kind of perfectly. Didn't have to make any additional holes anywhere. And it seems extremely sturdy to me. So now we're gonna get our box mounted on the outside there, and then we'll move on to the antenna. Okay, we got the box mounted. I did have to go a little off center because of those bolts sticking out holding up the original conduit there. So I just went a little bit off center. That's fine, nothing wrong with that. We are now going to go ahead and get our antenna up and get our RF cable in, and we'll install the dongle inside of the box. And after that, we'll run our Ethernet, and that will be the end of the project. So let's move on to the antenna next. Okay, so here's the antenna installed. I've got the coax coming into the antenna here, and I'm using a Coax Seal. I'll include a link to that in the description. It just helps protect the connector a little bit. I put a small service loop on here, as you can see, from the coax, and then we're coming down, coming over, and we'll swing around here and show you what's going on inside. So there's the Pi. And you can see that I just kind of had to leave the dongle loose in there. There really wasn't any way around that. It'll be fine closed up like that, I feel confident. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my data cable run, which is also supplying power. We'll get this thing online, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like. So let's take a look at what things look like now that we have the antenna mounted in the air. And it's been mounted for several weeks now. I wanted to give it a good chance to collect data so you could kind of get an idea of how much better it is. And we can start by looking at this aircraft reported all sites. I only have one site up, so that's why you're seeing only one line. But this, the 13th, is when I made the change, when I was doing the construction. So that's why my stat here, I kind of dropped down, because I had it disconnected for about 4 to 5 hours while I was getting everything installed, getting the Ethernet cables run. But you can see just how many more airplanes it picked up the next day compared to any other length and time from the previous days. And as we go out, you know, the antenna hasn't moved. It just depends on how many aircraft are in the sky in this area. It can depend on weather as to how planes are being routed. That can all affect how many planes the site is receiving. This here was right around the end of the Oshkosh AirVenture weekend. I don't know if it's related to that, but it could be that there was just an abundance of additional aircraft making their way out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and my site was picking some of those up. We can scroll down here and get a little bit of an idea of, you know, how far out we're receiving, as well as seeing, as I said, I was hoping this waterfall would become, you know, spread further across, and it certainly did. Now, we can come up here and I can take you even to the first, and you'll see we go from 17 at 250 plus nautical miles all the way to 43. So again, different days will produce different results based on traffic in the area. Here's just an hourly report, and then if we come down here, we can see just how many positions that were being reported, how much that shoots up. Now, up here, this is the number of aircraft reported. Okay, but down here are the positions reported. So the further away I'm able to receive aircraft, the longer I'm able to report positions for those aircraft. So that's why it exponentially goes up over here compared to up here, right? We go from just about 25-ish hundred a day averaging, give or take, up to, you know, what, around 4 to 4,500, 4,000 maybe. Averaging a day. Just by looking at this, that's just a rough guess. But we really shoot up here with our positions going from, what, 310,000 all the way up to, like, what is that? Over 1 million positions, it looks like, I believe. On some days, yes, over 1 million positions. So I'm very happy with the results I've gotten from putting this up to a higher location. We can come down here and my stats, my 30-day site ranking, kind of fun to watch that just keep continually moving up. There's a lot of things that contribute to the 30-day site ranking. The number of aircraft you receive is one, but the amount of time you've been connected to the network is also another. So, you know, someone who has been connected for much longer than me, but maybe doesn't receive as many aircraft, they may have a higher ranking. Now this, you know, I'm over my 30 days. I don't know exactly how it works, how their methodology works. I do know that time is a significant factor. I've been active for 40 some days, I believe, total on the network, including the time that I had the antenna down in the window in the house here. So I don't know if they take into account that you've been connected for longer than 30 days into where your ranking goes. That I can't tell you. I can come down here, though, and show you that on nearby sites, there is someone who is receiving more planes than me. I haven't seemed to be able to break 1 million positions. And, you know, that just has to do with this right here. You know, there are some trees that are, you know, poking above the horizon. Height is king in this situation here, in this scenario. So, but overall, I've just got to say I'm extremely happy. Let me show you what the map looks like now. Here's the actual map. And, you know, here's our 250 nautical mile mark, or 200 nautical miles here. You know, here's the 150. All of these rings are the same as they were before. Now, it's a little bit, you know, it was late at night when I filmed that other video to show how many aircraft I could receive, so not really an apples-to-apples comparison. But you can see here just how far out I'm able to receive these aircraft as they make their way into O'Hare. We're on the evening rush here. Now, this is actually a Sunday, so, you know, I don't know if that means more or less traffic than typical. I'm not that versed in how the airlines run their flights. I would say there's probably a little less traffic than normal on a Sunday evening, but I could be totally wrong about that. Obviously, possibly on the weekends, a lot more private pilots out flying around than maybe on a weekday, so there is that as well. Before I was not getting much past, if I had to guess, around this point with aircraft coming in, and now, obviously, I'm getting way out over into Indiana, well further than that. So I'm very happy with the results here. Now, just a note, I do want to tell you that I've kept track of the heat, because heat is obviously an issue. So we had a day that we had about a 91.8 degree temperature outside, and the PiWare device didn't go above it was around 143.6. I can't say for sure if it went above that or not. However, there is a way that you can make FlightAware send you an email if your device gets too hot. And let me see if I can find that for you right now. If you go to your settings, and then you go to your configure ADSB receiver alerts here, we're going to click on that button, and we're going to scroll down, and you can see ADSB receiver overheating. Notify me when my ADSB receiver reaches over 75 degrees Celsius in the past hour. I have it set to both send an email and alert my iOS. So I have never received a notification. The sun, just for example, let me show you here, shines directly onto the unit at the later part of the day. And it's been quite hot here in the Chicago area, but it has performed quite well. So I haven't had any issues at all. It's been on nonstop since I got it up and running. We've had weather come through. I'm extremely happy with how this box is performing in terms of, you know, keeping the unit relatively cool, as well as just the Pi itself inside there handling the heat. I don't know how a 4 or even a 5 would do with that. Now, you can put heat sinks on them to try to help out if you're in an extremely hot environment like Arizona or potentially Florida or parts of Texas. You can throw some heat sinks on there and try to see if that'll help, but you may get into an area where you do need to install some sort of a fan on the outside, on the inside of the box, blowing outward somehow in order to circulate air to keep it cool. Anyway, like I said, I'm extremely happy with the results here. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what you've done to get your antenna to the highest point possible. Again, please like and subscribe. It really does help me out. I really appreciate you watching this video, and hopefully I will catch you all again soon.